Okay, I think I finally got this thing working the way it's supposed to. Let's see if I can show off my mug a little bit. Not to mention moistening my lips. Okay, I couldn't think of anything else to say for this video, so I asked David if it would be alright if I did a reading of an article that's been published in about 3 or 4 different places along on the web, and he said it sounded like it would be good. This is something that I wrote. I wrote it in late May of 2011. I originally wrote it for, I believe I wrote it for the Wipe Out Homophobia on Facebook page. Okay, as I sit here typing this, I'm rewatching the movie Milk and getting angry all over again about the stupidity of people like Anita Bryant. I remember watching her speeches 30 plus years ago and wondering what the hell was wrong with her. I just couldn't understand why Miss Bryant and so many like her thought homosexuals were such a threat. And even then using their religious beliefs to push their agenda on us all. I had known one homosexual man, a substitute teacher in high school. He never tried to recruit any of the boys in class. He simply taught the subject of whatever class he was substituting in. Though we all suspected he was still closeted in 1969 when I first knew him. It was confirmed a few years later when his sister lived in the same apartment building as my husband and I. In all actuality, I pretty much ignored what was happening, though I simmered silently, and I made a point of letting those around me know that I wouldn't put up with any anti-gay talk in my presence. I wouldn't put up with any kind of judgment against anyone. One of the very first things I learned in church as a child was that we are not to judge our fellow human beings, but only to love them as God loves us all. Those who claim to be Christian are dishonoring Christ when they make judgments about the lives of others. It wasn't until late 1998, after the death of my husband, that I became even peripherally involved, after I joined AOL and began using their message boards. It was a story on AOL that led me to the boards discussing gay issues. And I have to say that some of the nonsense some people were posting made me physically ill. One of the issues I remember most clearly was the Supreme Court decision that voided laws against sodomy in all 50 states. It clearly affected gay men more than anyone because those were the laws most police agencies used to persecute gay men. I pointed out to one fellow that, as the Supreme Court said, it was an invasion of privacy. I also pointed out that those same laws, because of the way they were written, could be used to arrest a man and wife who occasionally enjoyed anal or oral sex. That was when I learned that the oral sex my late husband and I had enjoyed was illegal in our state. I asked one man how it would make him feel if the cops burst into his home while he was having sex with his wife. He said it couldn't ever happen. Asked him what state he lived in, looked it up, and told him that he could be arrested if he and his wife had oral sex because that was written into the law against sodomy in his state. Also provided him with a link where he could read it for himself. I don't think it changed his mind about homosexuality, but it sure made him pay more attention to exactly what laws were being passed in his state and in the country and the wording of them. The ones who have always ticked me off are those who refuse to look at the evidence or refuse to believe said evidence. Those who still blame AIDS on homosexuality. Those who make claims that somehow the gays in their city or even in remote cities are somehow to blame for their son or daughter or niece, nephew, aunt, uncle, brother or sister becoming gay. For some reason, they just cannot accept that no one becomes gay. that a person either is or isn't gay through no choice or action of their own or anyone else's. Tell them that a gay man who lives to 100 as a virgin is still a gay man, and they'll argue with you. Tell them I've not had sex since my husband died in 1998, and they'll try to say I'm no longer a heterosexual. Another group that pisses me off are the ones who try to claim that this is a Christian nation. Point out that there are only 2 mentions of religion in the Constitution, and both of those are prohibitions. Article 6 states quite clearly that no religious test shall ever be required as a qualification to any office or public trust under the United States. And the First Amendment, which by declaring freedom of religion prohibits any national religion. And they'll try to argue the way that the date is recorded or jump to another document claiming relevance of the wording of the Declaration of Independence or other documents as founding documents. I've even read claims that the First Amendment means freedom to choose any denomination of Christianity, but no other religion. Then there are the ones who try to tell me I'm not Christian because my beliefs don't march in lockstep with theirs. Ask them to define Christian and they'll give you a litany of their beliefs rather than stating the obvious. A Christian is one who believes in and follows the teachings of Jesus Christ. Ask them what Jesus taught on almost any subject and they start quoting Old Testament verses rather than the words in the Gospels that are his words and teachings. Point out his teaching that we are not to judge others and they'll find verses from other books stating we are. Completely misunderstanding that those books are talking about judging within their own church, not anyone and everyone. In short, I guess my activism, mostly online and in various forums, though I have occasionally confronted bigots in person, stems from my belief that no one has the right to tell another person how to live, except in cases where actual harm can be caused. As I see no harm being caused by 2 gay men or 2 lesbians getting married or simply living their lives, or by a transsexual expressing his or her gender, I will not sit by and watch as others attempt to insult, degrade, or persecute them, just as I will not sit by and watch as anyone tries to insult, degrade, or persecute another for not following any certain religion. As I said, I wrote this about a little bit over a year ago, in May of 2011, and I still believe every word of it. And I still will not sit by and watch as someone attempts to degrade another simply because they've got a little difference to themselves that most people don't have. I see nothing wrong with homosexuality. I see nothing wrong with transgenderism, and I will not sit by and watch as others try to degrade them.